Are you living the divine life? Many of us are not, and there just might be a few things keeping us from this. Welcome to Living a Sacred Life with Dr. Raymond Anderson. In our program, you'll learn to use the tools that have been given to you to make changes that you need, and by doing so, come one step closer to living that divine life. Now, here is your host, Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson.
Namaste, beloved Seventh Way family. I greet you with blessings of light as we enter a season representing the light. From Hanukkah and the Festival of Lights, to the Christmas tree, which is adorned with lights, to the Nativity story, where the Star of Bethlehem served as guiding light to the wise men and the shepherds. We each are not only surrounded by light, but we are here actually to be the light of God. Now, rather than reading or reciting a prayer as we've done previously, I'm going to use today's discussion itself as our prayer, because all too often we neglect to understand that every thought is a prayer. Every action is a prayer. Every smile, every hug, every handshake, every meal that is prepared is a prayer. Our actual living a sacred life is our prayer. Take a breath, and let's begin. So today's lesson or discussion is or has been a very personal one for me. Since childhood, I have consistently encountered challenges that rocked my very foundation. And oftentimes, so severe were those challenges that many years later, I still found myself praying to die quietly in my sleep. And when God would not answer my prayers, I began to live what I call a reckless life, a life in which I beckoned the Grim Reaper to retrieve my tortured soul from doing any number of my self-destructive behaviors. Well, as time went on, lessons were learned, and I evolved. And I realized that I actually have a reason to live, that there is actually a reason that I was born, and a blessing in my death wish not being answered, at least not in the way that I thought I wanted it to be answered. The death that I truly wanted, or truthfully wanted, was the end to my old, limited, self-hating, ego-bound consciousness. That's what I wanted to die. That's what I believed was me. And in order for me to be born truly, that consciousness had to die so that the truth of my being could be seen, could be lived. Now, initially, it was in slight glimpses of hope, glimpses of the light, and fleeting sparks of inspiration that I spotted the possibility that maybe this stuff or this image of me that I think is me could actually change. Maybe this really isn't me. And so in time, those very glimpses became long glances, and those fleeting sparks became more like burning embers. And I finally understood and lived more from a place of truth and from a place of power than the previous place of lies and of weakness. It was in that newfound place, that newfound consciousness, that an odd thing started to happen. I noticed glimpses of the old self looking back at me at times when I stood in front of the mirror. I noticed faint whispers telling me how unworthy I was of the good that I started manifesting. When I first noticed it, I used to resist it, and I resisted it with all that I could. And as we already know from spiritual laws, what you resist persists. So it wasn't until I embraced it, until I took it in my arms and held it close as if comforting a scared child. It wasn't until I looked into the eyes that I actually lost, or that it actually lost power, and that I gained power. So here I am, many, many years later, and I still find myself clearing out old residual demons from that Pandora's box. I can't stand that box. And I still find myself wandering in the valley of the shadow of death, where those dark nights of the soul seem to overtake me and seem to blot out every possible light in the sky. Now, oddly, I find that the old thoughts of how easy it would be to die rather than continue to struggle and still not be what I wanted to be, I found that those thoughts, they were easy, or they were easier, and they still faintly whispered in the background. It would be easier for you to die. It would be easier for you to give up. It would be easier for you to just lay down and stop. Now, I know those thoughts, or I know now that those thoughts are anchored in fear. And I know that the truth of who and what I am, I know the truth. I know the truth of who and what I am. So I don't yield to them. And what I mean by yield is meaning I do not believe them any longer. However, I do listen to them so that I can root them out. It's almost like there's a master gardener who has to root out the weeds. And also, like that same gardener, there is an ongoing process, an ongoing task to having a beautiful garden. Part of developing a beautiful garden involves the constant need to root out weeds and other undesirables. So I also, like the gardener, have to remain vigilant. I have to persist, step by step, thought by thought. Now, if I give up or give in to the weeds, what are they going to do? Clearly, they're going to choke and suffocate and take over the garden. And every time we allow a but to limit us, it's a weed that we have allowed to take root, to set up residence in the garden of our mind. Well, I want to be an artist, but what? Well, but my parents want me to be a lawyer. But I don't draw well enough. But I don't know how. But. You can fill in the blank with any excuse that you so feel fit to fill it in with. We do this so often that we don't even think about it. Well, I want to start my own company, but I want to lose 10 pounds, but I want to fall in love, but I want to go back to school, but I want to be a better parent or a better friend, but I learned a long time ago that for as long as we sit comfortably on our butts, and that's B-U-T-S, that we cannot and will not move forward. Anytime that we desire lasting change or growth, there comes a challenge with that, as our old thought patterns and beliefs will pop up. We must hold them up to the light and test their validity. We have to decide with each and every thought what is and what isn't worthy of our attention. If they do not serve to bring us joy, serve to bring us peace, love, then they are actually chains that are keeping us slaved or enslaved to a master that we've created, one who lives because we have given it life. You know, one of the hardest things about this is that even though these old limiting beliefs prevent us from living a sacred life, they actually serve a purpose. The ego uses them to protect us from being hurt. I mean, think about it. I want to have my own business, but the but keeps you in a place that you are already familiar with. It's a comfortable place. In that place, there is no risk. There's no risk of loss. Whereas if you get off of your butt, you very well could fail at having your own business. And yet there are many business owners who would say that those initial quote-unquote failures were the very needed lessons that they needed to learn in order to be able to succeed. It was those lessons, those small failures, that gave them the ability to turn it around into successes. in order to move forward. You know, the baby must risk falling in order to learn how to walk. So as the risks show up and as the ego tries to throw a butt in your face, calculate the risks. Focus on what you gain and move forward rather than focusing on the potential loss. You know, J.K. Rowling was turned down multiple times by various publishers, and she could have easily succumbed to the idea that she was a failure. And yet, the concept of, I want to publish my book, but no one will take it. But another said no. But I got another rejection letter. But no one likes it. None of those stopped her. She moved forward. She made her but work for her. Another said no, but I will continue. Another doesn't like the book, but I believe in it. Another said never, but I say yes. And as a result of her yes, Harry Potter was published and has become a global success for her. She made her but work for her. It's about that time for our first break. So just as a reminder, you are listening to Living a Sacred Life on Voice America, the Seventh Wave Network. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Ray Anderson. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Your online community for positive change. Seventh Wave Network.
Are you seeking spiritual guidance or spiritual instruction and insight? Do you want Reiki or a holistic life coach to assist you in manifesting the life you are meant to live? If the answer to either of those questions is yes, then take this as opportunity knocking at your door. Pick up the phone or email Reverend Dr. Ray Anderson today and make those necessary changes in your life. Say goodbye to the mediocre and hello to the extraordinary life. What are you waiting for? Chat with Reverend Dr. Ray today. Call 202-607-1573 or visit www.clspfi.org on the web.
Our society is spiraling out of control. Are you stressed out and concerned about the events occurring around you? Is there hope? Yes, there is. Tune in to Living in the End Times, featuring your host, Monita Dukia, who will help you understand and navigate these perilous times. Living in the End Times airs live Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern Time on Seventh Wave.
There's a course offered on Seventh Wave Network that you never saw offered in college. One that provides information on how to transform ancient wisdom teachings into everyday life. You'll learn how to create from your spirit and explore the world with all of your senses. Participation is encouraged. Enroll in Spirituality 101, the course you can't afford to miss, with your host, Reverend Norma. Class is in session every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 noon Pacific Time, in your favorite classroom, Seventh Wave Network.
Awakened media for a transforming world. Seventh Wave Network.
You are listening to Living a Sacred Life with Dr. Raymont Anderson. If you have a question or comment about today's program, please call 1-866-472-5795. Again, that's 1-866-472-5795. Or you can send an email to seventhwave@pfcls.org. Now, let's return to Living a Sacred Life.
So tell me something. How many times are we deprived of anything good in life simply because someone convinces us to hold on to our butts? And by the way, that someone would be each of us. Only we have that kind of control. No one can defeat us without our permission. No one can tell us who and what we are without our permission or our decision to agree with them. You know, and while I'm thinking about the possible buts and how they can be turned around, just for a moment, what might have happened had Rosa Parks held the thought, but I'm going to go ahead and move to the back of the bus like I'm supposed to? What might have happened had that been her butt? What might have happened had Gandhi or Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. held either of these two thoughts? But violence is the answer. Or, but I could get killed. Maybe I should stop now. Or, where would animation or filmmaking be today had Walt Disney accepted defeat with the, but I'm bankrupt. There's nothing else I can do. You see, nothing separates anyone whom you see as great. Pick a person. Anyone who you see as being truly great. Now, be mindful and be careful of how we're determining what great is. I'm not just talking about, Billy Bob who's on the corner because he's a great drug dealer. No. Clearly what I'm talking about is true greatness, true success, true peace, joy, and prosperity. And FYI, if anyone out there whose name is Billy Bob, I just selected a name. Disclaimer here, the names and places selected for this film are clearly fictional. Just want to throw that out there. So, keep in mind that nothing separates you from the people who you see as great. You see Oprah as being great? You're no different than her. Maya Angelou? You're no different. Will Smith, Al Pacino, the president, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, anybody, whoever it is that you see as being successful, the only thing that separates you and them, or separates your idea of success and their idea of success, would be the idea that you hold within your own mind. Christopher Reeve could have easily relegated his existence to one of self-pity, one of depression, and one of uselessness. Yet after his accident, he moved forward as an actor, screenwriter, producer, director, author, and activist. He chose not merely to exist, he chose to live. I find it funny that when my father was first diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, this term was thrown around quite often, being an invalid. And as we've already established throughout the previous shows, I was a nerd growing up. So I immediately took the word invalid. It means to make invalid. How dare we take a word and apply it to anyone and call them an invalid? How dare we try to make someone invalid? I don't care if the person, and I've mentioned him many times before, Nick Vujicic. He has no legs. He has no arms. Is he an invalid? No. The man does more without arms and legs than many of us do with arms and legs. Clearly, no one is invalid unless you choose to accept that thought and take it on for yourself. Living a sacred life is about that. It's about having dreams and goals, not vague wishes, but as firm intentions. It's about taking whatever circumstances come your way, whatever situation, whatever experience, and turning a negative into a positive, making lemons into lemonade, and like a master alchemist, turning lead into gold. It's about living your very best, despite opposition, criticism, rejection. I don't know if I told you this story, but way back when I was in high school, I had an art teacher tell me that it was a waste of my time to bother becoming an artist. Because originally I wanted to go to Hollywood and be a movie special effects technician. And this art teacher told me year after year, don't bother. It's a waste of your time. And I chose to buy into that belief. So I didn't go. So eventually I changed my mind and said, well, if I'm not a good artist to go do that, then maybe I should go to art school. And I expressed that to him as well. And he said, you can't draw. You'll waste your time and your money. So you know what I did? I pretty much said, okay. And I went to the Art Institute of Pittsburgh specifically to spite him, to prove to him that I could do it. Now, what I learned as a byproduct of that was by trying to prove something to him, I was exerting a whole heck of a lot of energy focusing on him. Because there's going to always be another him or another her to prove something to. So somewhere in there, I noticed my grades were dropping. Somewhere in there, and I didn't know why at the time. Looking back now, I can identify that it was because I was focused in the wrong place. I wasn't doing this for me at that point. I was doing it specifically. Yes, I mean, on one hand, yes, I was doing it for me because I'm the one in school. But on the other hand, the majority of my energy was going into proving to him that you don't know me well enough, that I can do this. When I shifted that energy and said, wait a minute, I want to be in school. I want to improve my artistic abilities so that I can do whatever it is I want to do with art. Then my grades shifted. The lessons that I was there to learn improved, and I eventually graduated. That was degree number 1, which I did eventually go back to my high school on one of those alumni career day things, and I showed it to him. And he had the audacity to say, I knew you could do it anyway. Congratulations. Shook my hand and walked away. And in that, I had to know that I had enough self-respect and satisfaction to know, had I done this for him, that would have been a slap in the face because I wanted him to apologize, and he didn't. Doing it for myself, I felt all the satisfaction and fulfillment that I needed to feel. You know, I'm very grateful that I have a huge butt. However, quit giggling. Because, see, I don't know where Tracy is right now, but I know she's giggling about me saying I got a big butt. But I said B-U-T, so focus and pay attention. I am so grateful that see, I'm talking about Tracy that made me lose my train of thought. As I was saying, I'm grateful that my big butt, my huge butt, was keeping me from moving forward. And I purposely joke about this the way that I am because laughter it's very powerful. It's very cleansing, it's healing, and it's cathartic. And the fact that we are learning to lighten up is the beginning step to becoming enlightened. So anyhow, where was I? My big butt. So I learned through much careful observation that it was actually, that my big butt was actually made up of several little smaller butts. And that it's actually these little butts, sort of like the butts in an ashtray that, you know, stain your fingers, and the stench and the smell of is, you know, it gets all on you, and the smell of decay. No one likes the cigarette butts. That's why they throw them away. So those little butts were a lot like the ashtray and the ashes and the little butts there. And these little demons are the butts that I give names to. The butt of low self-esteem. The butt of a lack of self-confidence. And the butt of unworthiness. You know, every time that I was ever depressed, swimming in denial, acting or reacting from the ego, or making up one excuse after another, it was always because of one or any combination of those three. Any of those three adversarial ideas was running rampant in my mind at the time. Now, let me give you some recent examples or recent encounters with them. Episode 1. So my show on Voice America is ending. Now, initially, I went through if I was a better host, well, if I was more like Oprah, or if I was more like Iyanla, or if I was more like Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith, you know, those if I, or what if, all of those what ifs are merely another name for, or another form of but. And whenever we focus on the negative, we're actually giving power to it. Because you can what if to the positive. Well, sir, we are sorry, but X, Y, and Z. But I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to succeed. The doctors, for example, when I had my second knee surgery, because I severed or split the ACL in my left knee, the doctor said, well, Ray Anderson, unfortunately, your range of motion is going to be this. And I said, what if it's not? What if I have full range of motion? To which they laughed at. That's not possible. To which I responded, but what if it is possible? To which they said, there's no way. So I said, okay, whatever. And the same thing I did with that art teacher, I focused on me, focused on my range of motion, focused on my healing. And as I went through physical therapy, every now and then the doctor would show up to do their little, test of whatever. And they were always stunned and shocked that I was making the improvements that I was making. And they would ask the physical therapist, well, what are you doing? What are you doing that's improving him like this? And the physical therapist would say, I'm not doing anything. I'm doing exactly what's on the chart. The chart says make him walk up and down steps. He's running up and down the steps. That has nothing to do with me. I focused on turning the negatives into positives. Now, yes, we could say, well, what if I had never gotten the range of motion back? Yeah, that would have been possible. But I focused on the what if I do. But I plan to. But my intention is, and I focused on the positives instead of the negatives. That's what we're supposed to do. Not compare myself to other people, not down myself for whatever. So anyhow, eventually, I got back into my right mind and I said, stop. This show ending has nothing to do with my worth, my love, my esteem. I am worthy simply because I am made in the image and likeness of the divine. Period. That's all there is. Case closed. Nothing else need be added. So I had to shift. I had to get back into my right mind in order to fully understand, fully embrace, and fully live from the truth that I knew. So it's almost time for our second break, and when we come back, I will then move on to episode 2. So I'm Reverend Dr. Ray Anderson. You have tuned into Living a Sacred Life on Voice America, the Seventh Wave Network. We will be right back.
Listening on a higher dimension. Seventh Wave Network.
Goodbye, self-critical. Hello, self-thrilled. Can you define your talent in 6 words or less? Are you using your inner resource, intuition, to teach you how? Listening to Joyce Anderson of Conversations with Yourself will work your intuitive muscle to discover your divine talent. Each week, your host, Joyce Anderson, teaches practices to jumpstart your intuition as your GPS to becoming self-thrilled. From sports to business to music and food, talent is everywhere. Find yours. Joyce and her guests will share their how-to stories on being self-thrilled. Tune in to Conversations with Yourself, Thursday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific Time on the 7th Wave Channel, and ignite your talent. Are you seeking spiritual guidance or spiritual instruction and insight? Do you want Reiki or a holistic life coach to assist you in manifesting the life you are meant to live? If the answer to either of those questions is yes, then take this as opportunity knocking at your door. Pick up the phone or email Reverend Dr. Ray Anderson today and make those necessary changes in your life. Say goodbye to the mediocre and hello to the extraordinary life. What are you waiting for? Chat with Reverend Dr. Ray today. Call 202-607-1573 or visit www.clspfi.org on the web.
Being Here with Ariel and Shia Kane is an ordinary person's guide to modern-day enlightenment. This show is an exciting exploration which opens the door to living in the moment. Don't miss Being Here. Tune in every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern with Ariel and Shia Kane right here on the 7th Wave Network.
Be extraordinary. 7th Wave Network.
You are listening to Living a Sacred Life with Dr. Raymond Anderson. If you have a question or comment about today's program, please call 1-866-472-5795. Again, that's 1-866-472-5795. Or you can send an email to 7thwave@pfcls.org. Now, let's return to Living a Sacred Life.
Welcome back. So, now, episode 2. Now, remember, for if you forget what this is, these are the specific episodes or specific times recently in my life that those three particular buts have shown up. So, episode 2. I do not have what corporate America would call a, quote-unquote, regular job. For them, I should be working a typical 9 to 5 and, you know, the whole medical insurance and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so I decided to resign in June of this year from my then full-time job as a high school teacher. And I resigned for a variety of reasons, but one of the main reasons was so that I could do what I'm doing now, which is living a sacred life according to my purpose and passions. What are they, you ask? There's a lot to list, but life coaching, healing work, teaching, spirituality, ministering, Reiki, performing, traveling and doing workshops and seminars, etc. So again, I had to listen to what was going on in my mind, that chatter in my mind that said, if you were a real man, you'd go out and get a real job. You do realize that you have no money going into your retirement. You do realize that if something happens, God forbid, you end up getting cancer or something, you're not going to have medical insurance to take care of it. You do realize, and so on, and so on, and so on. My comeback is, a real man lives life on his own terms. And that's what I intend to do daily, with each and every breath. So it's not about living according to someone else's standard. It's not according to living to what someone else dictates or says that I should be doing. It's about what feels right, feels true, feels like my personal true north. That's what guides me. As we talked about last week, that GIMS, God's internal messaging system, that does not tell me to go work in corporate America, to go back and be a regular full-time public school teacher. That tells me, do what you are here to do. You are here to teach and to preach and to write and have more books and do Reiki and help people heal and to learn how to live a more sacred life. That's what you're here for. That's what you do. Forget about what these other people say. Leave the naysayers neighing to their own selves in their own mirrors. Leave them alone. So anyway, then we come to episode 3. Now, there are many times when I often feel that, how do I want to say? I feel like I'm a disappointment to my mother, who is still alive. She's still on this side. And I feel that I have been a disappointment to my father, who transitioned in 2002. Now, though there have been times when they told me that they were proud of me, there are times when that ego steps in and whispers, yeah, but they said that when you were in school. You're not in school anymore. They just said that to be nice and help encourage you to move forward. Well, when was the last time your mom said she was proud of you? You haven't heard it in a while, have you? And I, at times, entertain this until eventually I say enough is enough. And then there are times when I feel that I'm a disappointment to my friends, to Tracy, to Robin, Rainica, TJ. I feel that somehow my friendship to them is not as good as it could be, that maybe I could be doing more. Maybe if I wasn't as silly than this, or maybe if I was more focused on this than that. There's always a what if and another but getting in the way. Then there are the times when I feel like I'm a disappointment to my sons, Kenny, Cody, and James. You know, just as an example, James and I used to speak daily, and not too long ago that stopped. Now, my initial reaction was, it's because I'm not worthy. You know, and then whenever Cody and I don't speak it for a few days, somehow I use that to further fuel the ego's fire and say, It's me. There's something, if I was a better father, I haven't heard from Kenny in a while. If I was a better father, sometimes the ego pops up and points the finger at me and condemns and judges. And then there are the times when I sit there and I accept it. You know, I fully feel the pressure and the weight of that condemnation. And eventually there comes a time when I have to once again face the demons for the liars that they are and realize and accept that I do the best that I can. You can never do better than your best. Everything you are doing in any given moment is the best you can do, because if you could do better, you would be doing better. The man who's standing on the corner selling drugs, as much as we want to judge and condemn what he's doing, if he knew better, he would do better. He's doing what he's doing because he doesn't know how to not do that. So, as I was saying, in time I had to face the demons for being the liars that they are. And because of what I learned over the years, I eventually got to the point where I got off of my butt and I moved forward by using spiritual principles to reclaim my power. And it's those spiritual principles that each and every one of us has access to. That man that I mentioned who's standing on the corner, he has access to them, but he needs someone to teach it to teach them to him so that he can put them into practice and transform his life and start living his life from a place of holiness and sacredness. Now, I say all of that, episode 1, 2, and 3, to say that living a sacred life includes periods of darkness where we walk through the valley, but our own inner light grows stronger and brighter with each trip that we make there. The more we put principle into practice, the more we learn the lessons and put them into use, if even one small grain of sand at a time, eventually the pyramid is created. One small grain of sand at a time, and eventually the Sphinx is created. So it doesn't matter how small the step, just make the step. Each time you go to the valley, each time you have a dark night of the soul, that light will be a little bit brighter and a little bit brighter. And the brighter it is and the stronger it is, the shorter your stay in the valley will be. Yes, we grieve. Yes, we fall. Yes, we feel sad and we feel angry, we feel empty and we feel lost at times. And still, we heal. Still, we rise. Still, we rejoice. We forgive. And we learn how to be whole and holy again. Living a sacred life, that is our purpose. To live our best life. To live a life of joy. To live a life of peace. To live a life of passion. And to live a life of love. That's what living a sacred life is about. Finding your purpose, in accord with your passions, getting off of your butt, letting go of the negative what-ifs, shifting your paradigm, and moving forward. I don't care if the moving forward involves 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. Eventually, and in the long run, you're still moving forward. I don't care if it's 1 grain of sand at a time, 1 drop of water at a time. I don't care how small it is. Even that small effort makes a difference. As we may already know, or some may not know, in the Bible it talks about having the faith of a mustard seed. And I don't know if you've ever seen one before. Maybe get online and Google one, or next time you get a chance to go to Lowe's or Home Depot or whoever has plants, ask them, "Excuse me, sir, by any chance do you have any mustard seeds? I want to see how small or how big this thing actually is." We already have faith. It's a matter of putting it to use according to living a sacred life. We already believe that we get on the plane that we don't see the pilot, but we trust that the pilot. We have faith that the pilot's going to fly the plane. The pilot has faith that the radio control center, because he can't see where he's going, he's trusting the machinery. He's trusting what they're telling him. We're putting our faith and trust into the pilot, who's putting his faith and trust into the plane and the machinery of the plane and the radar of the plane and what radio central control is telling him in his headset. That's faith. We get in our car every day and drive to and from work, to and from school, and we have faith. We trust that I'm going to stay in my lane and the person to my right and left, they're going to stay in their lane. We trust and have faith. We trust and have faith that it's winter and we turn on the furnace is going to work. We trust and we have faith. We already have it. It's a matter of where we're shifting it and putting it. Instead of focusing on and having faith in lack and scarcity and pain, shift it. You know, what's his name? Dr. Robert Holden has a book. Shift happens. Yes, shift happens. Make it happen for you. Stop working against yourself. Stop kicking yourself in the back, in the butt. Stop kicking yourself when you're down. Each and every one of us has the power to do great and amazing things. Never let someone tell you that one man cannot change the world, that one woman does not have the power or the ability to change the world. Each and every one of us, if each and every person on the face of this planet, or everybody who's listening and hearing my voice right here, right now, if every one of us lived a sacred life on purpose, according to our passions right here and right now, I have not a doubt in my mind that things like world hunger would end, poverty would end, war would end. Because enough of us have shifted our consciousness from war to peace, from hatred to love, from scarcity to abundance and prosperity. We already have the power. It's time to put it into use and make it work for us. It's time for our third break. We'll be right back after these messages.
Listening on a higher dimension. Seventh Wave Network.
There is a lot more going on in religion and government than what high-ranking officials are telling you. The Bible uncovers the truth, prophecies, and a world of opportunities. Get the answers you need when you tune into the program To the Stars and Beyond with your hosts Michael List and Adam Hong. We'll explore the religious and spiritual beliefs from ancient history to the prophecies that are shaping the world and current events of today. To the Stars and Beyond airs live every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern on Seventh Wave Network.
Yes, you can live a more positive and spiritual life. One step you can take each week is to tune in to What We're Thinking About with host Ken Ludwig. This program is designed to provide thought-provoking discussion after each week's show. Ken and his guests will challenge you to look at things in an entirely different way, to step outside the comfort zone and see the universe as it truly is. What We're Thinking About can be heard live every Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America 7th Wave channel.
Are you seeking spiritual guidance or spiritual instruction and insight? Do you want Reiki or a holistic life coach to assist you in manifesting the life you are meant to live? If the answer to either of those questions is yes, then take this as opportunity knocking at your door. Pick up the phone or email Reverend Dr. Ray Anderson today and make those necessary changes in your life. Say goodbye to the mediocre and hello to the extraordinary life. What are you waiting for? Chat with Reverend Dr. Ray today. Call 202-607-1573 or visit www.clspfi.org on the web.
The new home for visionary positive change. Seventh Wave Network.
You are listening to Living a Sacred Life with Dr. Raymont Anderson. If you have a question or comment about today's program, please call 1-866-472-5795. Again, that's 1-866-472-5795. Or you can send an email to 7thwave@pfcls.org. Now let's return to Living a Sacred Life.
Hello and welcome back to our final segment. So, several years ago when I was teaching American Sign Language through an adult ed program, one of my students, Alice, gave me a series of words, and I'm not sure that she and I ever discussed why she gave me these words or not, but in time, I sort of intuited the reason for it. She knew that at that time of my life, these words would come in handy. Simple words, but with a profound effect. So the words, I can, I am, I will, I choose, I have, I love, I create, I enjoy. That's all it says. That's it. That's all it says. However, how you complete those statements, those few words, the sentences you create, is where the power comes from. How often do we say things using those words that eventually defeats us, that holds us back, that uses our faith for naught? You know, someone once told me a long time ago that worry is praying to the devil. How often do we put that kind of energy into adversarial energy? We could be using that energy for good, and yet we are giving it to the adversary of the ego within our mind. We are giving it to those demons, those buts, those negative what-ifs. So when I say these words, I want each of you, wherever you are, to complete the sentence with something stating how powerful you truly are. So when I say, I can, what do you say after that? For example, I can do all things through Christ who gives me power. I can. What? So right now, with me. I can. I am. I am the very manifestation of God in human form. I am brother of Jesus. I am made in the image and likeness of God. I will accomplish my goals and my dreams that I have set forth according to my purpose and my passion. I will live a sacred life. I choose. I choose peace. I choose joy. I choose prosperity. I choose living a sacred life. I have a healthy mind. I have a healthy body. I have a healthy soul. I have a loving family. I have wonderful friends. I have phenomenally fantastic children. I love. I love me. I love life. I love you. I love my family. I love my friends. I love my children, and I love my grandchildren. I love doing what I am here to do. I create. I create miracles every day that I live. I create joy by being who I am. I create magic every time I perform. I enjoy. I enjoy life. I enjoy teaching. I enjoy living a sacred life. Set your intentions. Set each and every one of your intentions now to live from that sacred consciousness where the divine you and the holy presence that you are manifested in human form is fully activated, fully alive, and fully awake. When we live from that state of mind, the words of Jesus the Christ take on a completely new meaning when he said in John 14:12, I can guarantee this truth. Those who believe in me will do the things that I am doing. They will then do even greater things because I am going to the Father. We already have the ability. We already have the power. We have the very I am right here, right where we are. Isn't it time right here, right now, to live from that place of knowing? Isn't it time that we actually live like we already know it to be so? Not just because we believe it, but because we know it. Isn't it time? Isn't it time to stand in front of the mirror and look at yourself and know who and what you truly are? You're not the body that you see. You're an eternal spirit made in the image and likeness of God, truly one with God. You are holy, you are divine, and you are perfect. Yes, mistakes are made, but we learn how to look beyond them. We learn how to heal through them. We learn how to turn lead into gold. It's time to start getting off of our butts and moving forward. That's what life is about. That's what we're here to do. I have truly appreciated the time you have given to me, that each and every one of you has either listened live or tuned in at a later date or downloaded to your iPod or MP3 player. I pray that my time with you and the service that I've provided with you, I pray that in some way your life has been transformed for the good. I pray that I was able to bring a smile to your face, joy to your heart, and a lesson to your mind. Thank you for tuning in today, and I pray that the lessons of today and the lessons of the previous 12 weeks in some way has served as assistance, served as fuel for thought, fuel to move you forward, giving wind to your wings that you may fly and defy gravity. I pray that from this day forward, on into eternity, you are living a sacred life. Blessings and joy and love to each and every one of you. Namaste, my dear awakened ones. I love you. Thank you very much.